Hey y'all, welcome back to Ryan and Robert Rants. Today we are back at you with another ranked series. We are continuing our journey of Superman. Robert, which one are we going to be talking about today?
We are going to be doing Superman 2, the follow up to Superman the movie.
That is correct. Thank you, thank you. So, just like we did last time, we're going to be going over the movie in depth. So, spoiler alert, you have been warned. Again, this movie has been out for a while now, but
Yeah,
we
like
know
45
everybody's,
years.
yeah, but we know everybody's journey is different. So, please, if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Depending on which cut you watch, which we are going to discuss.
Yes.
Um, I did also want to preface before we get into it, I do want to apologize for something from the first video that I didn't catch in the editing. Um so during the recording, if you haven't seen the first ranked Superman, definitely go check that out. Little spoiler of what I talk about in there. Me and Robert were having a discussion when we're going over the movie towards the beginning, and I keep referring to the Daily Planet as the Daily Bugle. So I do apologize for that.
It
It's no
happens.
yes, it's no excuse, but it is a reason. And I was thinking about it, two reasons. One, I was very tired when we were recording that. And two, not to get ahead of myself, but there's something I've been holding on to that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I don't know if I've ever talked about it with you, Robert, but it's something regarding Spider-Man and Superman. But I will bring that up at a later date. But like I said, I did want to acknowledge it and apologize for that. Y'all deserve the best, and you're going to get the best. So, with that being said, let us continue.
You're
So,
too
yeah,
hard on yourself.
I know, but it's because yeah, I love what we do, and
Yeah,
I wanna
it's all
do
good.
right by the audience, and I want to do right by you, Robert.
It's all good. Next time we'll have like a counter. Anytime we make an error, we'll just put a counter. Be like, ooh, one, what, two.
Like the counter that still debating on how I'm gonna create that for the Black Phone 2 trailer reaction, which
Yeah,
is not out yet, but definitely stay tuned for it. By the time this is out, more than likely it'll be
maybe.
out.
Yeah,
Maybe. Oh wait, no, we're on the
maybe.
second one. Yeah, so maybe on the next one. We'll see.
Yeah.
All in good time. Good time and good things to those who wait. So, yeah, Superman 2. We're going to go ahead and go over that. Like we've done in the past, we like to do meat and potatoes. This one's going to be an interesting one because there's some stuff we have to unpack, but we'll get to it when we get there. So, just like we did with the last one, and of course, as Robert graciously brought up and created, again, his brainchild, this is the whole reason the Rank series exists, is as soon as we finish giving our little review, we're also going to do our out of 10 rating, as we always do. But, like I said, Robert's brainchild and his baby, we are going to be ranking this movie, hence the Rank series title.
Yep.
So
Spoiler
I
alert.
know, yes, spoiler alert. So you'll be seeing that a little later on at the end. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and just jump straight into the review now. Robert, did you want to start? I think it's your turn because did I do it last time?
No idea. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I do want to preface the version I watched was the one on Max. I have
same as
seen that.
well.
Yeah, I've seen this movie before, maybe like 20 or so years ago. I think it was before Superman Returns came out because I wanted to be caught up to speed before that movie dropped. So it has been a long time, and I will say, watching it this second go around, I kind of remember it differently than the first time I watched it. I don't know if it's because I watched a different cut before or what. I don't know if the Richard Donner cut was out when I saw it the first time, but yeah. So that is the version I am doing this ranking and tier list on is the one currently on HBO Max.
Same, same on
But
my
yeah,
end. Yeah, it's definitely something we're gonna talk about. I want to hold off on it just for a quick second though, because it the definitely want to talk about the opening of the movie first for this one. So with that being said, let's jump just straight into it with the movie. The like you said, I saw the max cut as well. We are gonna be talking about the Donner cut, um, plus a little bit of controversy between the two, because it definitely affected my viewing
Yeah,
this time. But yeah, so just a recap of the opening of the movie. We open on Krypton.
Krypton.
Yeah, and then we open on the heist by Zod and his team, the trio as I refer to them.
Yeah.
Um, I like the little the pressing of the alert button to notify everyone and still gets its neck snapped. I don't know if that was supposed to be an android or
Yeah, I'm not
but
sure either.
yeah, but
Like,
they what's
oh, I was gonna say, like, I mean, we see in the newer Superman trailer, like, they have Kellex inside the Fortress of Solitude in the James Gunn version. So I maybe it's a version of that or whatever, like it's based on. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know when Kellex was created in the comics, so I mean, it could be something similar.
is
You know
that
what I mean?
cause I'm not too
Yeah, it's kind of
familiar
like
with
a,
that. Is it
it's
like
kind
a
of like a
helper
robot,
robot?
something. Yeah, pretty much.
Sort of like Helper from Venture Brothers.
Right.
But yeah, they're doing their heist. They get a crystal. Zod breaks it, and then this is when we get the hula hoop rings. They return. I was curious. I wonder if Stargate was inspired by them when they descend, because it almost looks
Ooh,
like the same shot from the movie when it's like when the rings come
yeah.
down. And then this is literally where we get Zod, Ursa, and Non. The little line they have about Non. Non, you are as
No.
without thought as you are without voice. Dude, again, a
i.e.,
burn
you're
I want to
just a
use on
muscle.
somebody. Yeah.
You're just a muscle. You are paid to just stand there and look menacing.
Yup, yup. And then the floating heads return, which
Yep.
they were given real Phil Collins in the Air Tonight music video vibes. Guilty.
But
Guilty.
you kind of notice how it was re-edited or like it wasn't like re-edited, but it was like remade with the absence of Marlon Brando. Didn't come back for this film.
Yes, and I don't know if you had the subtitles on. It says that Jor-El is speaking.
No, I didn't have the
And I'm
subtitles on.
like, that is not Jor-El. That is not his voice. But
Yeah.
we also have a recast though because of the actress, the original actress that played Ursa is now played by Sarah Douglas, so she takes on the role of her. And the reason I noticed because again, like you said, they recut or they reshot some scenes. They didn't exactly reshoot the Phantom Zone scene like, when they go off, but they definitely edited the audio because you don't get the
Yeah.
forgive me that I love from the first one. But yeah, from there we go straight into the opening credits. So we talked about the opening credits on the last one and how long they were. This one is longer. It's almost
So I know you timed it.
5.5 minutes, dude. Almost
Jeez.
5.5 minutes. Gene Hackman is top build
Top
this
billing, yeah.
time. Dude, my boy Chris, second build.
And I want to say like Gene Hackman, I think was probably in this movie less than the first one,
Especially
runtime
this
wise.
cut. Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
especially
Or yeah,
this cut
yeah,
too, which we're
yeah,
gonna talk about that as well. And during the credits though, we get a summary of the first movie. Um
yeah.
Now, there's some other things I want to talk about with these credits. Music composed and conducted by Ken Thorne.
Yep.
So I had looked up his history. He's also done Three Ninjas and a throwback, U571.
Oh man.
Yeah, but
Jeez.
but literally right after they say that, it says from original material composed by John Williams.
Yeah.
Um, so when I saw that, one, you can definitely tell in the
Yes,
movie that a completely different
yes.
different
And this movie
composition.
kind of suffers from it.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what vibes it gave me? And I made this reference last time, but in regards to a different scene. Family Guy Blue Harvest when he's looking at the binary suns
Yeah.
and he's like John Williams Orchestra and it has them just doing it. And then later on in the episode, like when he finds Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and he's like John Williams, and like all burned down and whatnot. And he's like, now we'll have to do the rest with Danny Elfman. So like it's like the same feeling, dude. It's like you took something that was like really good and like
Yeah.
really shaped the movie and gave it the tone, gave it that character and that spirit, and it's completely hollowed out from here.
Yep.
Like it's just like yeah. Now we do have Mario Puzo back with the story and the screenplay, but we have to talk about the controversy. There's no way around it. Like we
Nope.
have to talk about it. So how much of it do you know?
Um, I want to say I know. I don't know exactly when in production that when Richard Donner got fired, and then they brought in, what's his name, Lester.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Richard
they
Lester.
brought Richard Lester. Yeah, they brought him
Traded one
in.
Richard for another one.
Yeah, and I know he ended up shooting 50% of the movie, and they wanted to quote give Richard Donner like co-directing uh, credits, and he said nah. So then they had to Lester had to go back and like shoot, I think, more of the movie to redo more of the movie because a director has to have like I think 80% of it in order for them to
Yep.
get like a full single credit. Otherwise, you'd have to give them co-directing credits. And I never too much into why he got fired. I imagine it's based it was pretty much on the producers or whatever it was.
Dude, it's a
Yeah,
crazy story.
yeah. So
It's
I mean, you can tell like from this movie, like going from the first one, like especially watching the first one and then immediately watching the second one, like I did like this past week. Like you can tell the stark like contrast between them.
yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most
Yeah,
definitely. So the a lot of this is rumors. A lot of this is rumors. He said, she said, back and
yeah,
forth. But the rumor and the gist, it depends on the point of view that you look at it from. So from Donner's point of view, there was a beef between him and the producers due to their alleged pettiness and greed. So he told them that he would come back on the condition that one of the producers was fired due to the hard time that they
that's
were
right.
giving
Yeah,
him during the first movie. He claimed that so the claim is that they refused to do that since the producer was spearheading the project. So originally, like when they were first doing Superman and whatnot, one of those producers was spearheading, was a big part of helping them getting it brought to life. So in retaliation, they brought in Richard Lester, who had worked on two previous projects with them prior, and they brought him on to act as a mediator. Now, from the producer's point of view, they claim that Donner, again, was offered to direct again, but took the side. They took the side of the producer and moved forward without Donner. Now, allegedly, this is when it gets even crazier. Allegedly, the producer still owed money to Lester for the two previous projects he had done with them. So he allegedly agreed to do this movie on the stipulation that he would be paid for those two previous movies. Also, there was rumors about sides being taken by the cast and crew who felt loyal to Donner.
yeah,
And it's also why Williams didn't return, and because of the direction of the film that it was going. Lester had wanted to make it more of a comic book feel, versus the cinematic approach that Richard Donner had took with the first movie. And there's even more. There's also alleged Gene Hackman molds being used to complete reshoots.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
I did read like or whatever that Gene Hack. There was some scenes in the stuff that Lester filmed. It's not like Gene Hackman. It was like not even like it was a sound alike to do voiceover, and a lot of it was just like a look alike.
oh, and you can tell because we are going
Yeah,
to talk about it towards the end. There's something I have to go into detail with. I did want to mention regarding that this is only a couple of years prior to Crispin Glover's lawsuit for Back to the Future 2, which I don't know if you know a lot about that, but that's something I definitely want to go over with you at a later date.
yeah,
Which spoiler, we're eventually going to do Back to the Future. There's no way around that. Like that's childhood right there. Um, but yes, so like you said, Richard Donner completed about half the film. He was offered the co-director credit, but declined, causing them to go back and reshoot the movie due to the union rules that
yeah.
the director must direct 80% of the movie in order to receive a credit. So yeah, dude, it's so crazy, like the drama, the rumors, the speculations, like all of this just to create a superhero movie. But it's
Yep.
sort of like mimicking present times just with all the drama surrounding, the modern superhero movies
Yeah.
and whatnot with like we can't just get an entertaining movie anymore. There's got to be like all this other stuff and ulterior motives and just
Yep.
things that have to be shoved in there that don't need to be in there. I'm like, just give me a good movie
It's
like
got to be
that.
different
Yeah,
voices.
yeah, like it's the whole purpose of these superhero movies. It's escapism. I want to escape into a world. I don't want to have to see parallels to my own reality. That's why I'm here. I want to get out of it. I want to feel compelled and inspired and hopeful, but well,
So,
we've
did
yeah.
this movie transport you into a hopeful world?
Well, we will find out by the end of this because like I said, there's some other stuff. I'm still holding my cards for the
Yeah.
chest cuz there's something that I'm going to drop right at the end that's going to put everything into a little bit more perspective on how I feel about this movie.
Nice.
Um so yeah, from there, like I said, we had to mention that, but cutting back to where it is, we go to the Daily Planet, which I'm pretty sure they use the same shot from the first one when they're panning in on the outside of the Daily Planet.
Yeah.
Um, we get Clark trying to talk to all the women and then all of them walking off.
Yep.
And then this is when we find out that there's a terrorist group that has a hydrogen bomb and about 20 hostages in the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Clark finds out Lois is there. We have a line from Perry White. He says, "If I know Lois Lane, she'll not only come back with the Pulitzer Prize story, but a one-on-one interview with the hydrogen bomb titled 'What Makes Me Tick.'" Like, so I do give credit to that, these little lines like that, and I feel like a big part of that is Mario Puzo,
Yeah.
because he does have like those little one-liners, like in this movie, in the first movie, in The Godfather. Like it's just these little one-liners that create and add to that character because that gives me a gist of who Perry White is and how he views others. So that's how you write a character. And
Yeah.
we'll talk eventually about the third one, but well, I'll save that for later. We get Clark running to turn into Superman. Still no phone booth.
Still no phone booth.
Yeah. And then
And
we
all
cut.
their special effects budget was used in that transformation because I will say the flying from there to Paris was awful.
Yeah.
Like it looks so jaggy and wonky. I was like, man, they used all the budget on that scene to do the transformation into a suit.
Yeah, and honestly, they probably ran out of money to film that one if they didn't shoot it in sequence because there's so much flying in this movie. There's
And
so
I feel
much wire
yeah,
work.
and I
So
feel like
much.
this. I mean, I don't know, but just judging because the whole terrorist plot just seems that like I'm out of place because I know
Like
it
reshoots.
in the Richard Donner cuts. apparently, this is I did read this where the nuclear bomb that gets diverted from the first one that gets sent to space, that when it explodes in space, that was supposed to be the bomb that's supposed to free Zod. And then
And
in
that
this
makes
one,
more
it's
sense.
and then in this one, it's the hydrogen bomb that he, so I feel like they reshot this. They probably wrote a scene real quick, like, hey, let's open the movie with something like high stakes or something like a hydrogen bomb. Like, yeah, sure, okay.
High
And
stakes,
then
but campy, not in
yeah,
a good
no,
way. Like,
100% campy. But like in the what 1980, this was
yeah.
high stakes for them. But 100% campy.
But you know what I mean, like as far as
It's
campy in the
so
sense of
comic
like
booky.
bumbling,
Yeah, just
like
so comic
not
booky.
exactly villains, but sort of like bank robber feeling. Just
Oh yeah,
yeah, yeah. Like you said, comic booky. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of
it's
Wonder
funny how you
Woman
bring up like
84. Wonder
yeah,
Woman 84 is the vibe I got from it.
it's funny how you bring up like bank robbers, and I'm thinking of like prisoners and the actual like jumpsuits that old cartoon prisoners wore, and then that's
Yeah.
exactly what we got when like Luther's in prison.
But yeah, like you said, you brought up Paris. Margot Kidder still looks great in this movie. We
Yeah,
get her climbing the elevator to get her scoop. One of the terrorists, dude. I don't know if you realize Richard Griffiths
Richard
himself.
Griffiths. Yeah,
R.I.P.
yeah,
Uncle
yep.
Vernon.
Uncle Vernon.
And we get, like you said, Superman throwing the bomb into space, ends up freeing the trio. The music, again, especially right here, the music is very TV-esque, meaning that
Yeah.
I feel like this is something that I would hear like in an episode of Star Trek
What's
from
the
back in the day, or like a show that would have been on like that, where it's like to show drama, like oh
yeah.
my god.
Or like what's the line from Forgetting Sarah Marshall when was it Jason Segel's character? He's like, yeah, I do the music, and it's just dark, ominous tones like throughout the whole thing. So it's just like that's what you get. Like it's just kind of just forgetful, just generic sci-fi music.
Yes, yes, it's the best way to describe that. And now I
Yeah.
just have Dracula's Lament stuck in my head because of the Sarah Marshall
You're welcome.
reference. It's getting kind of hard to believe things are going to get better. um, but yeah, we get dude, Clark in the street when it cuts to him walking, and then that slow motion camera, like why? And it just
Yeah.
looks bad too. Like, um,
Just a lot of
then
interesting choices. Like we're like
yeah,
what, maybe like 20 minutes into the film. It's just
not
odd
even, dude. I wouldn't
choices.
even
Yeah.
say 20. It's
Well,
probably
I
like
mean,
maybe
5 minutes is the
15.
credits, right?
Yeah,
So like, yes. But it's just like
honestly, maybe.
it's just I don't know. Just even then, and because and you
I
get a
wouldn't even
sense,
say interesting choices. I would just say choices were
yeah.
made.
And then like you get like a sense of foreshadowing coming in because he crosses the street. Normally Clark is always like so careful, so it's an interesting character beat that they're trying to paint in this film about how he's being, I don't want to say careless, but like crosses the street and the car like hits him and then it's all damaged. It's like, all right, okay, cool. So he's making these little tiny mistakes, and then we're leading up to an event or a realization later on in the movie, right? And I'm just
Yeah.
like, but Clark is always like so super careful when it comes to like keeping his identity secret.
Yeah, and this is where we kind of get like a little split with that. Well, like I've said in the past about how I feel, and eventually we'll get there to Man of Steel, but this is why it's so important to have the alter ego,
Yeah,
is because you need that juxtaposition between having your superhero and knowing that this is who he is, and then having the alter ego who is who he is as well, or at least he's the disguise. Um, and having that, but like you said, they definitely take a chance with that to have that story beat where yeah, it is careless.
yeah,
Honestly, it's more like lack of caution of like, oh, I'll be found out. It's like, and there's a line later on that comes up, but I'll tie it back into what you just said a a little later. And then we have Lois and the Oranges. So I'm guessing this was the health craze around that time. The get 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, which isn't that literally the advertisement for the emergency
Yeah, I
packets?
think so. Yeah,
So it's like, hey, maybe it spawned from that. Like, I don't know.
but isn't she still also smoking in this movie?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
because of
mean,
the
it's
product
Lois.
placement, right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
product placement. Was it
Yeah.
Marlboro?
Was it 27 times?
Something. Yeah, it was.
Something like that.
Yeah,
From what I read on the trivia, I was like,
yeah.
Sure they got their money's worth." And then Clark gets friend zoned. What are
Oh,
friends
dude,
for?
that was one of the notes I had.
Nice.
One of the notes I had. Just all it said was friend zone. I put a little note on where it took place because I was like trying to go scene by scene.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
but
man, I
just put
love
friend zone.
it.
Like my man.
Even Clark can't get a break.
No, but Superman, however.
Yeah. Hmm.
Mhm.
And then now this is when we cut to Lex.
Yeah,
He's in prison. He's bald now. And he's going on about the greatest mastermind of our time. What did they give him? Like the guard, life plus 25, Luther. And then there's that him and Otis are talking, and then there's that random line to the other prisoners like, I want my Liberace record back tonight. And the guy's just like, there's a scratch on it. Like it's just such a weird out there thing. It's a
yeah,
funny line, but it just seems again really out of place.
yeah. It's real, I'll make the reference again, like 1966 Batman,
Yeah.
just super cheesy.
Camp for
Yep.
days. He has another line to Lotus. Every man has his vulnerable point. Some, like you, Otis, have more than one. Again, just, beating down on Otis. So this is when we find out that he's developed a black box to track alpha waves in order to find out where Superman goes when he goes north, try to find out his secrets. Um, so I mean, not really much happens during that scene except just for that reveal. But then we do cut to the astronauts on the moon, which is
Yeah,
probably the first campiest, like super campy scene of the movie. Because
yeah.
there's a couple of other ones, but this one's real campy. Um, I wrote down a couple of lines from this scene that I thought were funny. And they definitely time capsule the movie. So the first one is when one of the astronauts is talking to Houston, and he's like, "By the way, Boris and I are engaged." He's like, "Yeah, I had a feeling about you guys when I saw your Rorschach test." He's like, "Hmm, just a little." What does he say? Sorry, I have it like super small. Is it detente? Just a little detente humor there, Houston. So I had looked it up because I felt like one, I couldn't remember what the word meant, but I had heard it before. But when I had looked it up, it had talked about it's a phrase that was used during the Cold War to describe the high tension between the Soviet Union and America.
Yeah,
So I thought that was like a little, it time capsules the movie like
yeah.
perfectly. I mean, it's the 80s. This is when all of that was going on. And we have another line from the astronaut. He's like, "Mighty pretty out there. Mighty pretty." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "That's it. I'm dreaming. We seem to have an unidentified flying object. What does it look like?" "Well, a lot like a girl." And this is because he sees Ursula flying around out there, which,
Yeah,
again, she's just like, it just
yeah.
looks so janky. But dude, like Ursa killing the next astronaut and then just kicking him.
Just kicking him into space.
Yeah, and the camera does that weird like janky pull out and whatnot. I think it's a reverse shot where it was
I
probably
think so.
zoomed in
Yeah,
on her and all they did was just reverse it.
that's what it looked like.
Um
Yeah,
yeah. So we get that Zod knocking the Russian into space, not non holding the ship down and destroying it. And we also get, dude, John Ratzenberger back. He returned for
yep.
more. He said, I didn't have enough. which I did write down his line as well because I thought it was pretty funny, but it's also kind of stupid. It's kind of a stupid line, but I like his response. So he said, what's that he said before? He saw a girl? The other guy, I thought he said a curl. What's a curl? Isn't that what the old Canaveral guys used to call a comet with an east-west trajectory? How should I know? I was in high school in those days. The other guy just smirking like that's a John Ratzenberger line. That's a Cheers line right there. But I did look it up because I was curious if it was just a stupid line or if it was actually like there was some weight behind it. So I looked up what a curl was.
Yeah.
Um, so a curl, it's a term used when talking mathematics regarding vector calculus. It's also known as a rotor. So it's a vector operator that describes the infinitesimal circulation of a vector field in a third dimension Euclidean space. The funny
Yeah.
thing is,
No.
when I was reading it, I understood it. I like math. I really like
Yeah.
math, and especially physics.
I
So
might need a
looking at it, I
diagram.
was like,
Just
oh,
give me a I might be able to figure it out with a
there's
diagram.
there's a really good one on Wikipedia. That's what I looked up. I was like, oh, but again, I mean, that could be written by anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that interesting and educational because like our program, everything is
Physics lesson
education.
of the week, people.
Dun, dun, dun.
Generic
So
sci-fi music.
yeah, exactly. Or the more you know from back in the day.
Right.
So yeah, this is when Ursa realizes in the trio that the closer they get to a yellow sun, that their strength and powers grow, and they plan to go to Houston to
Yeah.
rule.
But they're also talking in space, so we'll just say we'll throw that part of, physics out the window.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because why not, right? Why
exactly.
not?
Talking in
This,
space, breathing in space, like even Kryptonians cannot technically breathe in space. They can hold their breath, but they can't breathe in space.
they can't have full dialogue.
Yeah, and no.
So this is when we cut to the Lex jailbreak.
Super
Again,
campy.
yeah, super super
Super
campy. I do like Otis doing the bunny ears to Luther with the spotlight and Luther's guest. So yeah, they're using a hot air balloon to make their escape. Of course, Otis being heavy causes
Gets
the
left
balloon to come
behind.
down. Yeah, so Lex just kicks the ladder down, and then immediately we cut to Niagara Falls. There's so much cutting back and
They-
forth between
like,
locations.
yeah, there's so like in this Niagara Falls scene, like the entire thing from start to whatever, it's like a good chunk of the movie.
Yeah,
Like way too
they
long.
they overstay their welcome in Niagara Falls.
And what were they even doing in Niagara Falls? Something about
So
like vendors were extorting uh
s-
tourists, something
yes,
like that, right?
so what it was Lois and Clark went undercover as newlyweds to expose a honeymoon racket in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, that'll
And
definitely win her a Pulitzer.
yeah, and the line, well, she does have that line as well. She's like, "Yeah, Pulitzer."
Mhm.
So Clark's line, I wrote it down. He said, "They get kids who are starting out in life and they take them for every cent they can get." That's what Mr. White says. And then this is when they're being shown the room. It's the honeymoon suite, so it has like the
Yeah,
bed, the
the heart-shaped
fireplace.
tub or something.
Mm-hmm. And Clark's all bumbling like, "Oh, Lois, what about the sleeping arrangements?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Mr. Smith, the complimentary couch." Because when the guy's showing, he's like, "Complimentary this, complimentary that." So just that little tie back. And then we cut away from Niagara Falls to go to Lex and Miss Tessmacher, who returns. And they're just flying up in the balloon, and she's just like, "How could you do that to Otis?" And his
Yeah.
response, "What else is ballast for?"
That was a funny
So
line.
yeah, that again, this I only write down the funny ones. That's all I write down. And then we cut back to Niagara Falls again.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
shows
Like, why not just show that whole scene in one go? Like, it makes
exactly.
no sense.
Yeah, and then cut back, but it's again very TV-esque,
Yeah.
very like sign of a TV director to like like flop back and forth. So back at Niagara Falls, we see a little boy climbing over the railing. Um, and then from there, Clark and Lois are having a little conversation. Clark's like, "Oh, look, Lois, they're all holding hands."
Maybe we should
And
too.
yeah, so they start holding hands, and she makes a comment that they're afraid to let go, and he says, "Why?" She says, "They let go straight to the lawyer." He said, "I don't know about that. They look kind of happy to me." And she said, "That's because you're blind, Clark." He's like, "Oh yeah," realizing his glasses are all wet and stuff from the waterfall.
Water the
And then this
mist,
is
yeah.
when, yeah, and then this is when Lois starts to realize that Clark looks a little off when he's not
Yeah.
wearing his glasses. Um,
She's
and
starting to trying to put things together.
yeah, and while this is happening, I don't know if you heard it, but literally as this scene is happening, and it's closing, it close. There's a close up on her face, and they're doing the health thing. I don't know if you hear it. You can hear the mom hitting the kid off screen. When it's zoomed in on Lois shrugging off that Clark looks like Superman, she says, "You embarrass me here in front of everybody." And
That's your typical punishment back in the day. Nowadays, kids
mhm,
don't know anything about that.
yeah,
Nah, in
it's that
public it don't
throwback.
it didn't matter in public. Nah, in fact, you sometimes got it worse in public. You got it in public, and then you got it in private.
Can confirm. Happened to me at a Walmart because I flipped
Yep.
the cart over when my brother was inside it on accident because we were playing around, and yep, got
Yeah.
taken to that dressing room real fast. But yeah, this is when the boy falls off the ledge,
Oh my!
dude.
Where were
The
the
amount of
parents? Did then the beating not look? This is how Harambe died. Like, what are we
R.I.P.
doing?
King. R.I.P.
Exactly. Have we not like did this? Obviously, that kid did not learn anything from this movie because this is exactly what happens.
Yeah.
And
Oh
that
yeah.
kid and the kid in this movie fell way too long.
Oh, dude, he fell way too long, so long that he turned into a dummy towards the end.
I know it's so bad.
The dummy looks
I
so
mean, the kid
bad,
was
but I
already a
loved
dummy.
it. Yeah. Method actor.
He went there.
Yeah, so Superman shows up. Clark literally just shows up as Superman, flies down again, looks real janky. He goes
Yes.
down, grabs the kid, the little voiceover. What a nice man. Of course he's Jewish.
Like, sure.
I don't know if you read the trivia on that. Someone had put in there that it was because of the creators
No,
of the
maybe.
Superman
Yeah.
character, that Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, that when they had created the character in the 30s, it was a representation of what they were going on through that time, and what better character than someone to go up against evil at that time. So I don't
Yeah.
know how true that is, but I mean, it's pretty
I mean,
funny.
I felt like that's why Cap was blonde hair, blue eye. Like he was like literally part of that, master race, right? Like that was his spitting image, and but he was the one going against it, right? It's like that, like basically Steve Rogers was exactly what Hitler wanted in terms of quote master race, but he was
Yeah,
opposing it. You know what I mean? So
and for America.
America, exactly, and he can
So
do it all day.
yeah, dude, and then when it cuts back to the kid getting drubbed out, his mom shows up and she's like, "Again, again."
Like exactly. Nah,
Yeah.
that no.
Oh
Can't
no,
let the
oh
kid
no, no.
fall.
The kid, oh no, the kid goes, "Again, again." That's what it
Yeah,
was.
and then
And
is
he
that where he
says,
says only one free
huh.
ride or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he says, "I'm sorry, only one ride to a customer." And
That's like the
uh,
Family Guy
uh,
Spider Man. You only get one.
yeah, so Peter. And then I love he does the thing again. Goodbye. It's the way he says goodbye. It's like I don't know if you've heard it like on some phones. It's that passive aggressive voice. The mailbox is full. Goodbye. Like it's sassy. And then again, this is when the mom comes out. She says, "Come here. You're gonna get it." ooh, giving me a heart attack here.
Yeah, nah, throw him over this time. Just end it.
Yeah. And then literally 2 seconds later, Lois realizing Clark might be Superman again. She's like, Clark was here. It's me. It's Lois.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I thought that was kind of funny how he just totally ignored her. It's like, yeah, you friend zoned him back at the Daily Planet. Now all of a sudden, nah,
Mm-hmm.
now you're getting it. You're getting
Now
friend
you
zoned
want
by
to.
Superman.
Yeah. And then this is when Clark's walking back. I like that he drops like the change uh on the counter, and then he just picks up the hot dogs. Which, speaking of, Lois was getting ready to eat hot dogs and drink orange juice.
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't tried it. Kind of tempted, but it does sound like a very bad time in the bathroom.
Hmm. Probably.
That and heartburn reflux. Oof.
I mean,
That heartburn with OJ and hot dogs.
yeah, it's an interesting combination.
That's a lot of acid.
It is.
It's like, oof. Not gonna lie, I kind of want a hot dog right now. That sounds pretty good. So we cut back to Lex and Miss Tessmacher up north. Lex with the mush, mush. So they finally arrive at the fortress. Like her line, "Oh look, more ice." And he's like, "It has everything." Wrong. Why didn't you go before we left? That was 2 days ago.
So they've
They've
been
been
up
in
in that
that,
balloon for 2 days. Like, what they've been eating?
dude, for real.
It's like, oh, we
Also,
just dropped down, went to the diner, and then we'll pop right back up. Like,
unless that's why it was weighing down. We thought it was Otis, but it was like, no, they had like all the food and all the stuff
right,
in there.
bunch of snacks, road trip snacks.
Yeah, they stopped at had a QT on the way.
I don't
So
think
this is,
Bucky's was a thing then.
yeah, yet. So this is when they're figuring out the crystals. So Laura comes back again. Susanna York getting more screen time,
Yep.
and I didn't really write too much about what she's saying, but I did like one of Lex's lines was like, "Criminals, my kind of people."
About Zod, yeah.
Yeah, and then they say that there's a line that the scientists created the Phantom Zone and placed the trio in there since there's no death penalty and that it's for all eternity that they'll remain in there. Um, so this is when Lex gets inspired to form an alliance with the trio, and this is when we cut back again to Niagara Falls again with the cutting back and forth. This is when Lois is like, okay, maybe I'm starting to get a little wise on this Clark, if that's what your name really is. So, in order to test her theory, she throws herself into the water to prove that Clark is Superman. He uses his laser vision to drop a branch for her to grab, and I like that Clark falls in pretending he can't swim, sort of thing, like,
Yeah.
oh.
No, he really sold the like, no, Lois, what are you talking about? Nah, he definitely sold it this one.
He was
Like,
ready to
obviously
let her
she was,
die for his
yeah.
secret.
Well, I was gonna say like she was never in like any real danger. He would have saved her if need be, but he was taking it to that limit. He was like, let's see how far. All the way she's been true to me, I'm getting her back.
Yeah, he was in his own Phantom Zone.
Yep.
So this is when the trio arrive on Earth.
Another cut.
We get another cut, and then so this is Planet Houston. Very strange surface. Then we get Zod walking on water. Um, they're doing their thing, and then we cut to Ursa and the snake. I like her
Yeah.
line, a primitive sort of life form. And then it bites her, and then
The
she just
bite.
burns it.
Yep. With their laser, their heat vision.
Yep. And then I like Non trying to do it on the. Was it a stick or was it the snake that he was trying to do it on?
I want to say it was the snake, but it like yeah, it was for sure like I guess it was burnt so much to a crisp where it just became it looked like a stick. But yeah, he
Yeah.
picked it up and tried to use it, and like the heat vision just kind of like and it's not like it's okay, bud. Performance
Like,
issues and all that.
It's okay. They have Bluetooth for
Yep.
that. And then we get another cut back to the hotel. So this is Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
In the hotel. Clark trips over the bear head
Again,
rug. Yeah,
again,
again. And
showing
he fall.
carelessness
Mm-hmm.
uncharacteristically.
And then this is when he falls into the fireplace, and so it's like, oh, 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 no, no, no,
Yep.
no.
And no burn.
Yeah. And this is when he just decides, he reveals himself as Superman. I like his little, when he gets up
It's
and he just
very like
stands there. And
a
he
whole
just,
the whole scene of like revealing yourself as Superman, like it was kind of anticlimactic. Like it was just like, eh.
well, again, like I said, it's very TV-esque. Like, it
Yeah, there was
feels
no
like
drama.
yeah, like a sense of urgency, or like you said, suspenseful, or building up to it. It's yeah, even though we just talked about the river scene, but even that, like, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but even like I do like, how we just see his back, and then he just readjusts himself, turns around, and his liner is like, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe you wanted to. He's like, did I? She's like, maybe you wanted to with your heart. He's like,
Yeah.
we'd better talk. She's like, I'm in love with you.
Yeah, the dialogue was kind of it was
Yeah,
I don't want to say cringe because I don't really care for that. Like that word's just stupid in my opinion, but it was like the only part of that whole dialogue that made sense was I guess we should better talk. That was the
yeah.
only part of that whole interaction that like was felt authentic. I guess that's the
So
word. The dialogue between them both didn't feel like authentic. Like the history that they've had, probably whatever it is over the course of these two films, like it just didn't come off as this is what they would say.
yeah, I
Yeah.
and to be honest, I'm gonna kind of challenge that. Now I feel the dialogue works with their characters. It's the setting and how they
Well,
get there to where it doesn't flow. And again, it has to do with the tone and the way this movie is shot. Like, because think about it, had this been a Richard Donner cut, he would have found a way to make it work a little better versus, oh no, I tripped into the fire. Like, it would have been some sort of slip up, or it would have been, I think, a little more clever of
I
how it
think it
would have
would.
been done, or it would have been, because then, like, because he would have known how to block the shots
Yeah.
with those lines to where you have them let it breathe for a moment, cut back, let it breathe for a moment, to where it's like, you know what I
Like
mean, like, and it
I
comes
don't
down
want
to
to say that
editing with that.
the dialogue the dialogue could have happened. I just don't think that would have been like the first thing either of them said, or like it would have been later on in the conversation.
Yeah,
It's like for me, Lois Lane is more of a I don't want to say egotistical kind of character because it's not like I always go back to the Smallville Lois Lane, right?
yeah,
Like Erica Durance is probably the best Lois Lane interpretation live action that we have, and she would have like her first line would have been like saying something like I knew it, like this whole time I knew it, you know what I mean, because
yeah.
she has figured it out, but she was always second guessing herself. But she would have been like flat out been like I knew it, and
So
and it would probably would have led on from there, but it just didn't. I guess it just didn't flow for me.
and like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the direction. I
Oh
feel
well, probably yeah.
like
I mean, I think
I
it's the
don't think this is
direction
a
and the
Donner.
script on it.
Yeah, which is why I don't feel like this is a Donner choice. Like, this
Oh
feels
no.
like this was shot by Lester,
Oh, probably
because
yeah.
again, like, so like you just said, with how Lois is as a character, I think that the only reason why I challenge it is because think back to how she fell for him. Like, she was like, she loses who she is because she's infatuated with him. She's like, she's in love with him. So like, all of that, like, drops, like her aspirations, all of that, because she's so blindly in love with this guy. So it's like she can let her guard down. It's not about the story or the Pulitzer Prize. It's about, like, wow, like, I'm in awe of this
But now she
man.
has,
And
but she has the realization that Clark is now him. So it's coming from both
true.
both sides of it. Like she can be in awe of Superman, but
So
she
had we
it,
got Donner cut, then I think then that's when we would have got. I knew it. Like I
yeah,
knew it because that would have been a Donner choice of having the characters be the
yeah,
characters. In
because we
this, we
get
only
it a
get the
little bit.
one side of the
Yeah, we get it a
character.
little bit from their interview, like in like that whole interview scene from the first movie. Like you got both of it, how she transitioned from, you know,
Reporter
interviewing,
to
yeah, reporter, and then getting the feelings, or reporter, and then becoming like all like
full fledged
starstruck, and then
woman,
like
like
flat out like
yeah,
ignoring. Like it was all of that, and here it was just like it just felt disjointed. And again, I think
like
it was more of
TV,
a,
right? Like
yeah,
TV,
pretty
like a
much,
TV
yeah.
script
It's basically okay. We need, this is what it
reaction.
was. This is what it was. We need them to have dialogue so then Superman can take her to Pound Town. That's exactly the whole thing
Yeah,
went.
pretty much. And how can
Like
we
there
do it as
was
fast as possible?
exactly like it didn't like, and that's what it was. It wasn't like we got to get there as soon as possible because we wasted so much of the movie cutting from scene to scene for no reason. So we had to get from here to here so then we can move to the final act of the movie. And
Yeah,
they I think they, if they would have chosen to maybe even cut some of this dumb Niagara Falls stuff in the beginning and really just focus on like their like interaction, because Superman is like, I mean, it's Superman and Lois, like it's Clark and Lois, like that's the whole meat and potatoes of the whole character. Like
yeah,
it's always them, and it
yeah.
just felt like I don't know, it just felt like I guess
Cheap.
rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean, because the scene literally ends with the line, "Let's go to my place."
yeah,
Like it literally ends with that, and then it cuts to the cops and the trio. The conversation, they have a wide selection. We never get confirmation what they're talking about, but he's constantly saying that. And then there's a line when they see the trio and he says, "From the look of them, I'll bet $10 they're from Los Angeles." And
What's this about LA? LA.
LA. You get tacos in LA.
LA.
Letterkenny reference. Check it out.
Big fan.
Huge. The hugest spur parts. Um so what was I gonna say? Oh yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
then
they
we get
just
a
like,
line from Zod. I like the globe. It flashes red like our Krypton sun, but not this irritating noise. This is when his ADHD kicks in and he's getting distracted by shiny things.
yeah.
Um I do like the line from the cop when they ask him to do something and then Zod responds and he says, "Did I hear that right? That SOB just give me an order? Dwayne, you take care of it." And he hands him a gun.
Yeah.
So, that happens, everything transpires, and then we cut again to Lois and Clark flying to the fortress. Then we cut to the trio going into the town. This is
Basically
when
just
Non is
ransacking the town.
yeah, we got Non using his laser vision to try to burn the side of the truck and being all happy. Ursa arm wrestling one of the townies. And dude, oh, this kid,
Oh.
this young Benedict Cumberbatch over here, dude. Please, mister, he's a general. Please, Mr. General, please let my daddy down.
Like
Like,
in some nowheresville country thing with like a population of 37 with an English accent.
yes, like take two, kid.
Yeah.
That child is English, daddy,
Yeah.
daddy.
Where'd
And
they
then,
film it? Where'd they get these extras?
dude, for real. And then, when they're picking him up and stuff, like, dude, it looks so bad. But I noticed that when they drop him, you can see the pad that he lands on
Oh yeah.
because he bounces.
Yep.
And then, again, we get Lois and Clark at the fortress. He's explaining the fortress to her, literally like recapping the first movie. And then this is where we get him flying around to pick up the food, which is like,
Yep.
again, really bad.
So much
Um,
unnecessary flying.
yeah, a lot of it. And then this is when we get the news broadcasting of the trio. General Zod does not take orders; he gives them. And then when uses his laser vision, it does make a noise. I don't know if you noticed. The noise is like the buzzer from Batman when Joker kills the mobster. I'm talking Tim Burton Batman. It's like a like I can't do the noise,
Yeah.
but it's like you know it when you hear it.
You
But
think they just repurposed it and from this film?
oh, most definitely. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff that was repurposed from this film that I feel was used in other movies. Dude, the flamethrower fire looks so bad when the military shows up. Um, I like how there's a line. It says nuclear weapons have been rolled out due to the city and its population as they proceed to fire rockets and shooting at everyone.
Yeah.
And then we do get a miniature. The
Yeah.
helicopter flinging
Yeah.
into the barn. I think it looks great. Then we cut back again to the fortress. We're leaving the town, and we cut to Clark and Lois eating. And so I thought we might abandon the OJ, the orange juice. And
Champagne.
yes, he opened champagne. I'm like, nah, dude, get that OJ,
Yep.
mimosas. And then she has the line to go change into something comfortable. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. We know where
And
that's going.
yeah. And then this is when we cut to he's talking, to his mom and thing, and she says, if you intend to live your life with a mortal, you must live as a mortal. You must become one of them. The crystal chamber that harnesses the rays of the red sun from Krypton. That
Krypton.
if he uses it, that all of his powers will disappear forever. And once that's done, there's no return. This is what he's told.
Yes.
There is no return if you use this.
It cannot
And
be
also,
undone.
I don't understand why he has to become human if he
I don't
wants to
either.
live with them. Like it feels very out of place. Now the process when he
Yes.
actually, because he does decide to go through with it because he loves Lois. Um, there are certain points where he looks like Michael Jackson during the thing. Like, dude, and this process is so in depth that it even changes his clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this is when
He
he
literally goes in as Superman and comes out as Clark.
yeah comes out as Clark, and then he takes Lois to the super bed.
Oh yeah.
um, the next scene did make me laugh when we get the trio in Mount Rushmore, and they're changing the faces to theirs. All I can see is Mars Attacks.
Yep.
That's all I see in my head. Again, another movie inspired. Another Tim Burton movie inspired, I should say. And this is when we get the trio going to the White House. They basically, again, I wonder
Just
if X-Men
bull rush it, yeah.
X2 was inspired by this scene
I mean,
with Nightcrawler.
X2 directed by Bryan Singer, and then he went on to direct Superman Returns. So, yeah, it's all ties
Inspiration,
together.
which is a direct sequel to this original
Yeah.
set of movies. So when they when they're there in the White House, there's a line that they're telling the president like he needs to bow to them and stuff like that. He has a line. He says, "I see you're practicing worshiping things that fly." And then the other one, rise before Zod. Now kneel before Zod.
I will also say, like before all that, like the sound mixing, like all the gunfire is so bad,
Yeah,
so
it's
bad, just so like you know how like again taking it like going back to like laugh tracks and sitcom. That's exactly what like the sound effects was. It just seemed like they found generic gunfire and then just like old western gunfire from like the 50s and it's like a John Wayne type, whatever, and they just put that over and I was just like,
yeah,
this
like the
is so
the sound
bad.
doesn't even match
Match
like the
up,
actual
yeah,
weapons that are
just so
firing.
bad. And I'm like, oh my god, it's like listening to the Wilhelm scream.
Oh,
Like,
dude, which I will always love. A
yep.
good Wilhelm scream.
And they bring it back in Man
There's
of
another
Steel.
scream. I don't know if it's named, but there's a scream. The one movie that I remember it more from anything, just because of the way it's used, is Beethoven's Second. Yes, it's not called Beethoven 2. It's called Beethoven's Second. Um, that scream is used if we ever go over that movie, which we might, because that was a pretty big childhood movie for me. That one and the first Beethoven. Um, I don't know if we'll go over the rest of those because there's like 10 more movies that were made after that. But yeah, like there's another scream, super off topic. But yeah, so there's another line that the president has, and he says to Zod, there's one man on Earth who will never kneel before you. I like Zod. Who is this imbecile? Where is he? And then while he's kneeling, the president says, "Oh God," and he goes, "Zod."
Zod, yeah. I love that line. That one was funny. Like he misheard him. Like, no, Zod.
And then we cut to the diner scene, which I can only assume they used cut footage from the opening to The Shining.
Yeah.
With the driving.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then this is when we get the diner scene, and we're introduced to Rocky. It's like this.
Such a trucker name.
Yeah, like, the ultimate one.
Yeah.
And he gets into it with Clark. Super cheap shot hitting him from behind.
Oh yeah.
But
it's just to show this whole scene was just to show, oh yeah, he doesn't have his powers. Look, he's human. He can be beat up by a normal person.
Well, yeah, because we get a line from him after he gets down, and he's like, blood. It's my blood. Yeah, it's the way he says it. He's like, blood. It's my blood. And
nobody
I
makes
do
me
like
bleed my own blood.
Yeah, exactly. No one. But hey, Lois is ride or die in this scene because she's jumping into fight.
Oh yeah.
She's
yeah.
like immediately. And
hey, but you know what? I will say, good on her for not leaving Clark after he gave up. She was in love with Superman, not Clark. So as soon as he gave up his powers, she stayed. So good on her.
Yeah, ain't no friend zone. He escaped the friend zone.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, Clark is all messed up. He's all messed up in this scene.
And that's when they find out, like, the broadcast, right? About don't they make like a broadcast or something? Yeah.
Yes, because Zod's on TV, dude, and after hearing him, all I can hear is Michael Shannon after that scene. Because you can hear it in his voice and the way that he delivers the lines, and I'm like, okay, that was a great casting for Zod.
Yeah.
Because it was decent casting in general, but now after watching this again, and especially with that scene, that one sold me on Michael Shannon as Zod.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Clark at the fortress, which really weird montage of him like running like in the cold and whatnot, and he gets back there, he has his little monologue by himself, and we get that father like shout out. Brando is nowhere to be found. He is gone.
Nah, he said, nah. You are no son of mine.
And then again, we cut back to the White House. Now we have Lex over at the White House. And then I do like that we get Ursa crushing his hand. And the whole thing about revenge. And I like that it ends with Lex wanting Australia.
Yeah, super random.
Like out of all the things, I was like, oh, okay, like that's what he wants.
Sure.
Then we cut again. The trio's at the Daily Planet. And this is when Lex convinces Zod to use Lois's bait. And this is when he also orders Don to kill Luthor. And I love Lex's line when Superman shows up. Superman, thank God. I mean, get him!
Get him!
And then there's that, man, this is gonna be good. Or not that, I'm jumping ahead. This is when we're getting lines from the people in the street. Like people are like there to watch the fight because we're getting the trio and Superman fighting, and they're like, "Get him, Superman!" And they're like, "Man, this is gonna be good." The guy that's in the car is just like ready to watch it all go down. And we also get one of their coworkers back at the Daily Planet, and she's like, "The big one's just as strong as Superman," and then Lois just shoving her. But it's the way that that lady delivers the line. She's like, "The big one's just as strong as Superman." She's giving off Mary Sue vibes from the Rapping for Jesus video, which, if you haven't seen that, I'm just warning you, watch at your own risk. For that, if you haven't seen it. But if you do, or if you have seen it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Just listen to her delivery of that line, and it's exactly what it sounds like. And then we get a lady with the baby carriage trope
Of course, yep.
during this scene as well. We do get a funny line from one of the citizens when Superman gets launched into the car. The lady's like, "Ah, the car, you'll pay for it." Which I felt that. I felt
Like
that on a personal level.
it's I got like I think we talked about it when we did Thunderbolts. We're always watching like the backgrounds, what's going on with like all the people in the background.
Yeah,
Like you have four aliens with the powers of like superhuman gods, right? Why are y'all still there?
dude, the destruction. That was literally my next note. I
Like
was like,
why are y'all still there? Like that's what makes like I'm gonna you can kind of compare this scene to the Man of Steel because it's kind of hard not to, right? Kind of the
it's
same
the same
parallels,
thing. It's the
but like
same thing, just
exactly,
with less CGI.
yeah. Like and it's just like but in Man of Steel case, like the whole city nearly gets destroyed.
And
But
they're
like
running versus this one. They're cheering
yeah,
it on. They're watching.
like
They're like, "Get the
like
popcorn!" Like, let's watch it.
like what are we doing?
Dude,
Yeah.
and they also do something that you don't expect because when they're fighting Superman, he gets thrown into the bus and stuff like that, and he just disappears. And I love how the citizens just get together. They're like, "They kill Superman. Let's go get him!" And they're like breaking out the riot tools and stuff
Like
like
what are y'all gonna do?
the freaking street weapons, dude. And then this
You
is when
you mess with
Zod.
one of us, you mess with all of
Exactly,
us.
exactly. Don't forget that. Remember that.
I feel like yeah. I mean, even the like opening credits recap is very Spider-Man 2. Like I mean, it's probably vice versa, right? Because this movie came out like 25 years before Spider-Man 2, but
Yeah.
yeah, but anyways, a lot of parallels between Raimi and these movies. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And
Anyways,
then this is when we get Zod doing his breath, his, hurricane breath.
yeah, which
And
is odd.
dude, this is when we get all of the product placement in
Oh
one
yeah.
scene. We get JVC, we get McDonald or not McDonald's, we get KFC, dude. And the guy even says something about, "Oh, the fries are great," or something like that.
Their
He gets knocked
chicken
over.
sandwich is real good though. I will
I
stand by their chicken sandwich.
I'll have to try it because it's been a minute since I've had Hot take, I don't. I've never been one for KFC.
I don't eat KFC much. I've had their chicken sandwich like 3 times in like the last like 2 years, and it hit every time.
Nice. I'll have to give it a shot. My heart has always been for churches. I grew
Oh,
up
oh,
on
100%,
churches. Churches, their sides still hit
100%.
today. But I will say this, as far as chicken sandwiches go, Popeyes
Still haven't
spicy
had it.
chicken sandwich, dude, it
Still
is
haven't had it.
good. It is really good. Because you can also get it with the sauce, the chicken, and the pickles. Or they also have one where you can add bacon and cheese with it as well, and that one's really freaking good.
Nice.
But yeah, speaking of, man, I'm hungry now. Um, so yeah, JVC, Coke, Marlboro comes
Yep,
back.
back for like that was probably like number 27
Yeah.
or 26.
And then oh dude, and you want to talk about campy? The guy talking on the phone in the phone booth, it getting
And it
knocked over and him
just
still
goes,
having the
yeah.
conversation, and then the roller skating. The guy
Yep.
like blowing back in the roller skates, campy. Those two things belong in a parody.
Yes.
A parody of Superman, not in
Superhero
this.
movie.
Oh my god, yes, which I stand by. I will stand by that movie forever. It is so stupid, but it is so great. And then this is when, we finally get our final fight. Superman takes off. Trio goes back to the Daily Planet, and Luther's like, okay, I'm the only one who knows, where they are. So the trio take Lex and Lois with them to the fortress. Um, and we talked about this earlier, but I never realized the double that they did for Gene Hackman until watching it this time.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, yeah. No, this whole scene, I feel like this has to be Lester because this does not feel like Donner. Between that, the doubling, for Gene Hackman, the line, dude, the line from Superman, I expect better manners from my guest Zod. Like it's literally like a random pause. He's like, I
Yeah.
expect pause for 10 seconds. Better manners from my guest Zod. And you don't even see him, you just see his shoes. So who's to say that's even him? But yeah, take two on that scene. But this is when it gets way too cheesy for my liking. We
And
get, Non
the
going out of roar. He keeps
the
doing these
classic
random roars. Freaking.
and the classic. Yeah.
So from what I've read, it has nothing to do with Superman.
Nope.
It's not in the comics.
Nope.
It's nothing. It was literally they chose to
Yes.
showcase that.
And it does nothing. Like
Yeah.
literally just it like wraps up Non for like 3 seconds and then nothing. And I love the Family Guy parody of it. It's just like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
Literally nothing.
It's just
It's just so bad. It's definitely not a Donner. It can't be no, it can't be. I refuse to believe it's a Donner thing.
yeah, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And we also get this is when we get Superman warping, which I don't understand this part. The only
So
thing that I can like comprehend from it, if I was to give them credit, is that he's just moving very fast.
yeah, either that or like he's using like the crystals to like reflect himself or something. That's the only
Yeah,
two things. Because I mean, I
it doesn't make
suppose
sense.
moving fast, he can create like an after image. But like, I mean, they took a lot of liberties with the Kryptonian powers in this one. Like, they had like some beam like a Zod and them had beams they shot from their fingers or something or
Yeah,
whatever. Early, done no, absolutely not. Yes, they do have like the frost breath. I don't recall them ever creating like hurricane with their breath, like
yeah,
hurricane force winds. They just took a lot of liberties with it. I mean, it could have been like pre-crisis type power, which this movie would have taken place before Crisis on Infinite Earth's storyline in the comics. So I mean, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West in terms of what power Superman had back then. It was basically he had like anything he wanted.
yeah.
Um, but
You
it's just
know
I don't know.
it.
They just took so many liberties with like the Kryptonian powers. It just I was like,
Yeah,
it's like not your what you think of Superman. You think of like the X-ray vision, the heat vision, the frost. Like some people don't even know about his like frost breath and his super strength and like in his flight. Like that's the his mainstay powers. Like everything else is just all right. But
I guess it works.
sure, I guess for the story.
But yeah, so we get that the whole warping. It reminded me of Total Recall with Arnold was like, ah ha 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 ha, you thought you got me, and then smokes them all down. But yeah, then we get a line from Zod because they're like, okay, we're gonna have him use the machine. Lex Luthor, ruler of Australia, activate the machine. And this is when we find out that Superman reversed the machine and it turns the trio human, and then he kills them.
I mean, he does something with them.
He
I mean,
kills them.
I mean, hey,
To
Lois
pull
killed one
a
of them. Then,
yeah, she killed Ursa. I'm like, to pull
yeah.
a line from Ted Lasso. Oh no, those children are dead.
I want to say I read somewhere where they like kind of leave it open ended, but it's not. They didn't necessarily kill him, but I mean, where'd they go, right?
Exactly, because we're here. Ah! no, like they
Yeah,
take an Indiana Jones Last Crusade fall
yeah,
into the
they're
abyss,
gone.
dude.
They're gone.
So, that happens. They finish that, and then they end up leaving Lex at the fortress. And he
Yeah.
flies off, to take Lois back home. We cut back to the Daily Planet. They're having their back and forth of, like, I love you, this and that, and like all this stuff. We have to talk about the kiss. We
So
have to talk
apparently
about it.
apparently Superman did have an ability. I think it was only used once or twice or whatever, where it's not more. It's kind of like an enchantment or like a charm, where
So
he
the
does
kiss was
have,
just so good that she forgot.
man, different times back. Apparently, yeah, I read about that one too, and I was just like, yeah, it's some kind of like Kryptonian charm, or it's something just nonsensical. Like, sure, it's just one of those ones. Like, it's one of those ones where you write it in a comic. We're like, okay, well, we got to like spice things up, so we're gonna find out like this person's gonna discover their identity, but then we want to retcon it 2 issues later, or like at the end of the issue. We're like, okay, well, how do we do that? Like, oh, a magic kiss or something. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't make sense.
I have an alternate theory.
Shoot.
So we know he moves faster than a speeding bullet.
Scrambled her brain.
I think he caused the concussion.
Just shook her
I
violently.
think I think there was Lois. There's a wall. Just real quick. Also, dude, during this kiss, no one saw nothing.
Yeah,
Like
he just
there,
gave
like
her
open
he just
area, glass.
flat out
People
just
everywhere.
shoved his finger up her nose and gave her a lobotomy.
Yeah, it's like,
Dunk.
Lois, you're different.
Just drool.
Like Opie from Family Guy. Oh man. Yeah, so again, and then we get the diner scene, part two.
Yep.
His line, I haven't seen garbage eat garbage before. The sped up chair raise is so cheesy.
Yeah, of course.
And then putting him on the thing, what do you say? This order's to go.
Right into the pinball machine.
Dude, for
I think it was a
real.
pinball machine, yeah.
And then we from there, this is when we cut to him flying, holding the American flag and the White House roof.
Repairing it, yeah.
Yeah, and then we get his flight into space from the first one. And then, finally we make it to the end of the credits where we get right at the top, coming soon, Superman 3.
3.
And I also timed the end credits. They clock in at about 4 minutes, which means they're shorter than the opening credits of the movie.
They're like, oh, they know who's in this movie now. We're good.
Yeah,
That's
dude,
wild. Because usually you have like the credits, right, of the main cast, and then you have like the actual crawl, and the crawl is what takes forever.
Yeah, so
At
this
least
one is
nowadays.
like real quick, like quick in and out.
Hmm.
They're like, nah, turn around those theaters. But yeah, dude. So I mean, that's the end.
They must have been really
That's
confident
the
to like,
Lester cut.
yeah. Well, so yeah, that's the one we saw on HBO Max. They must have been really confident in this movie to already announce, Superman 3.
Yeah,
This is before the MCU being, yeah, they're gonna return.
yeah. This is like, no, you're gonna get it front loaded right at the beginning of the
Yep.
credits. It's like, we're gonna tell you today. All right, so we finished talking about Superman 2. Now, the ultimate question. Before we get to our ranking, what do you give this out of 10, Robert?
So the Lester cut. So I will say again, it was very the flow of the movie didn't flow for me at all. I mean, we talked about how kind of choppy it was seemed to be edited, like the cut here. It's like a lot of it probably could have been edited together, where we got like a chunk of the Niagara Falls and then jump back, like go back to like Zod, and then it just the editing on it was weird. The music very, I don't know, like TV, like you said, TV sci-fi, like old Star Trek from the '60s. Very, very basic and generic. I think the writing overall, I mean, I think honestly, I think Zod and the Kryptonians are kind of one dimensional. I mean, I like Terrence Stamp as Zod, but I mean, he basically just said kneel before Zod like the entire movie. That was his only line, it seemed like. Luther, again, was pretty much one dimensional. I mean, I didn't really care too much about how he was written in the first one. And I mean, they kind of just doubled down on it in this one and made it a little bit worse. Like I mean, he had top billing, but he was only in the movie for like what, 10 minutes, if that. So I don't know. I mean, again, this is the Lester cut. I don't know what's going on with the Donner cut. So, man, honestly, it might be a little controversial, but I think I'm going to give this probably like a 6 out of 10. Nothing higher. I can't go any higher. I wanted to give it like a 5.5, but I mean, I think I'm good with the 6 out of 10 for now. Like I
Nice.
remember liking this movie a lot more the first time I watched it. So maybe I watched a different cut. And I think that version was ranked a little bit higher in my mind, but this one, the one on HBO Max, that ain't it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you just said what you said. Because I share your sentiment exactly. Like, so I've seen this one a couple of times. Just like you, this one hit differently this time. This last time that I
Yeah.
watched it. I think a big part of it was after reading about the trivia and the drama behind the scenes, it changed my viewing experience.
Yeah.
And th- that alone is a huge reason why I don't like knowing too much about a movie. There was a time back in the day when I would have been like, oh man, every trailer I could get my hand on, like every little scoop that I could hear about or behind the scenes thing or leaks and whatnot. Like I enjoyed that. There was a point in time where I did enjoy that, but now I'm at a point where I don't, because I realize that it ruins my experience, especially because I'm myself setting a bar high up there and I'm
Yeah.
creating something in my head, and then when it doesn't pan out, it's like, oh, well, that sucked. Case in point, and eventually we'll talk about it in depth, but that was my experience with The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Like, everything I could get my hands on about that movie I read about, I watched everything, and then when the movie came out, I was like, I was so disappointed, and
Yeah.
it altered my viewing experience. So the same thing with this one, I feel like because I looked it up, because I didn't know about all of this stuff until this last watch. Um, but like we talked, like I said, it can alter your experience drastically. So watching it this time, like we've said throughout this entire thing, it felt very akin to a TV movie or an episode of a television show. The music definitely adds to this feeling. It does not feel very cinematic, quite the opposite. I've only seen the Donner cut once as well. I don't remember when, like, because it was years ago. But I'd definitely be open to watching it. And I was shocked that it's not included on Max.
Same.
Like, at least because they usually have pretty much every, like, you know, version of a movie on there. And, I was going back and forth on the score. I wanted to give it a 7. Like, had I not known about
Yeah.
the drama and stuff, I probably would have given it a 7. But watching it with the new knowledge and not being able to unsee the alterations, I can't go any higher than a 6.5. and that's being generous with that point five because I do like the miniatures and the actors, but the story super convoluted and it hurts the journey, especially when you have this following up a stronger and a better first movie.
Yeah,
So it's like a 6.5 is where
yeah.
I stand.
I think yeah. I mean, even the story was very thin, but still they still found a way to make it like convoluted. Like I it
Yeah.
was that's to me that's a masterclass of just bad storytelling. If you can create a thin story and
Yeah.
make it convoluted, like mm, you need to go back. Like you need to go back to writing school or something. I mean, yeah, and even then, yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell maybe which actors were kind of on the Donner camp because I thought some actors kind of phoned it in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I even think they even said it in the interviews, like they were kind of on set, they were kind of depressed about what everything, like all the drama that was going on. Like it was kind of
Yeah.
hard to like get out of that shell of, you're surrounded in this environment, probably like a toxic work environment about what's going on, and then you got to go out there and give a performance. Like I get it, they're actors and that's what they're kind of paid to do, but at the same time, like they're still human.
Yeah.
And it's like if you've had this wonderful experience for what, maybe 6 months, 8 months, or whatever it is on a film, and then all of a sudden this happens, like you signed on to do a sequel or whatever it is, knowing that all these people are in place, and all of a sudden they're gone. That how does that, like, that's like me taking a job thinking I'm going to be working with like these people, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're changing it up and you're going to be working over here. Like that's kind of like alter my, you know on a it's like I'm going to go into it differently, right? Like I'm going to be looking forward to
Mhm.
this, and then so it's a human aspect of it, not like a professional at that moment.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
a
can
rug
kind of
pull.
tell. Yeah, you can kind of tell who was like. And again, a lot of the actors have gone on the record saying like some of their viewpoints on it. Now that we're like what 40 years removed.
Yeah. You know
But
what this reminds me of? And not even with the I wouldn't even say because it's a completely different situation as far well maybe as far as what we know. It might be it might be the same, but the parallel with just like a bastardization of the final product of this, it feels exactly like Daredevil Born Again about how I feel about
maybe,
it. To where like you had something that was like, ooh, ooh, yeah, we're not
yeah.
hearing really good things, so let's reshoot it and go back to the drawing board and do this right.
And then you
But you still get
Frankenstein
a,
it together.
yeah, and that's what this feels like. I mean, especially the end. We talk about with Luther, where you literally just see the back of him. He's like, oh hey
Yeah, yeah.
like doing stuff like that, and that's what it reminds me of. And like I said, different situations, but as far as the parallels to where it's like you take something that's beloved and yeah, stuff behind the scenes just caused it not to work out and then you're like, well, we still got to put a product out.
Yeah.
And it's like instead of going back to the drawing board and taking your time with it and eating a loss, you're like, no, just put it out. Whatever we have, Frankenstein, here's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And like you said a little while ago with people coming out, the fact that just talk about Daredevil for a quick second, like Charlie Cox came out and even said the same thing I had said about the fifth episode.
Yeah, it was his least favorite.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, because it doesn't make sense in the
It
narrative.
Yeah. It didn't move the whole, like, the season plot forward. It was just kind of like a one shot. And like I liked it as a one shot, but in terms of like being in, like, you have 9 episodes in the season, like it was, what did I give it? I think I gave it an I, right? Like an incomplete or
Yeah.
something like that.
Some
Like if it was,
you gave it two scores because we had gone
yeah,
back and
like,
forth on
yeah,
the
like
thing.
as a standalone, it was fine to me. Like if you're just making a show like sitcom shows, right? Like basically every episode's a standalone, right? And
Yeah.
then like if that's what this kind of was, like, okay, cool, it's a standalone episode, just stands on its own, it does what it needs to do, tell has a beginning, middle, and end to the episode. But that's not what you're doing here. This is a 9 episode arc of a story, and this is just sandwiched in here for no reason whatsoever.
hmm And that's just the taste of our Daredevil Born Again coverage. So definitely check that out. when you get the chance. But yeah, as far as Superman goes, I mean, Superman 2, I'll say
Superman 2.
Superman 2, the Lester cut. Um, that's all I have to say on it,
Yeah.
as much as that goes. But I wanted to make sure that that was mentioned about the parallels with that and why it's so crucial to either scrap it, start from the storyboard, start back from the drawing board, and stop putting out
Yeah.
incomplete products. Like, just don't. It's gonna hurt you, and it hurts your legacy. So, with that being said, we have talked about we have reviewed it. We gave it our out of 10 score. It is now time to go and do our tier list. So, Robert, you
Am I
have the
going first?
honors to go
Already.
first. Tell me
In-
where does Superman 2 land for you?
So I've been going back and forth. And I think as we move on in this series, Superman 2 might be the one I alter towards, the end of it. But I think I'm going to just give it an initial ranking. I hate to do it. Again, this is the not the Donner cut. This is the version on HBO Max, but I can't. I'm gonna give it a C tier. It'll be like at the top of C,
Yeah, like a
but
C
I I
plus.
I I was like, yeah, I was going back and forth if it was gonna be a C plus or a B minus. But I don't know. I don't think for now I'm gonna slot it here. Yeah, I'm gonna slot it there.
Gotcha. So
Again,
for mine, let's see. So again, just like it's the going back and forth on it, and I don't know, this again, this is a tough one because I
yeah,
wasn't expecting it to happen that way. And just the fact that after discussing it and talking it out with you, I I have to agree with you. Like, it's C tier.
yeah,
And again, like you said, it could change. I mean, the same thing happened when we did Mission Impossible
yeah,
ranked, and we still have four more to go. So as of right now, the Lester cut that is available on Max right now that we both watched, it's a C.
yeah. I agree.
I can't go any higher than that. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, I don't really have too much else to talk about on Superman 2. What about you, Robert?
Nope. I think that for now, again, we can revisit it, but I think for now, I think this is where it stands.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank y'all as always for checking us out and watching through. Please, please be sure to like and subscribe. And as Robert always says, get down in the comments. We want to hear from you. What is your experience with Superman 2? Either cut, Lester cut, Donner cut, if there's another cut out there that we don't know about, we want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you feel the same regarding parallels where, finished products, you know, are they good as is, or, when something's Frankenstein, do you still put it out? What did you think about the first one compared to the second one? Just anything. Were there favorite moments in this one? Are you a Lester Cut fan? Like, we want to hear from you, so definitely get down in there. And Robert, do you want to let them know about the other projects we have going on?
Yeah. Well, if you've watched this video, then you should know this is the second video of our ranked Superman series. So please, if you haven't already, watch our first one. We had a lot of fun making that one. I know that movie. A lot of people hold that movie, near and dear to them. So feel free to check it out. Let's see if our opinions match up. That's why we do these. We want to start a conversation with everyone. There's honestly no right or wrong answer. We want to just we want to have that conversation. We love talking about movies, and that's why we do this. But other than that, we also have our ranked Mission Impossible series. We did all 8 movies. That was a whole lot of fun. That's for sure a franchise we enjoy a lot, so we had to do that. We also have a bunch of trailer reactions. I mean, I think we're up to like, by the time this goes live, we might be up close to 40 with more to come. So feel free to check all of those out. We've had a lot of fun doing those.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Robert. Thank you as always, and thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.